So, good evening, എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. പതിപോലെ ഇന്നൊരു ടെക്നോളജി ബേസ്ഡ് സ്പീക്കാണ്. എത്തനോൾ ബ്ലെൻഡഡ് പെട്രോൾ വളരെ എക്കണോമിക്കൽ വാല്യൂ അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ടെക്നോളജി ബേസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ടോപ്പിക് കണ്ണൻ സാറിൽ നമുക്ക് കേൾക്കാം. എല്ലാവരെയും സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു. അതോടൊപ്പം വൈസ് അഡ്മിറൽ കണ്ണൻ സാറിനെയും. കണ്ണൻ സാർ, യു ആർ വെൽക്കം.
Thank you, Sabu. First of all, many thanks to Dr. Sabu for giving me one more opportunity to discuss a techno-economic subject. World over, countries are adopting different strategies, different policies to reduce vehicle pollution. Different strategies. And they range from new type of designs of vehicles which will have low emission, blend the fuel in some manner by which carbon emission is less, bring in new types of fuel like hydrogen, or run the vehicle on battery. So different techniques are used by countries based on their technical and economic strength. A country chooses the option depending upon what is required in its economic activities. As you all know, India is a very populous country with over 40 crores vehicles. I'm repeating that word again. With over 40 crores vehicles registered in India. And we import 80% of the oil required to run the vehicles. Only about 15-20% is produced in India itself. So we're dependent on foreign countries for oil. We have so many people, we have so many vehicles. We are the fifth economy of the world. But the workforce is mostly agriculture based. So it's a combination of so many factors on what is the correct policy to pursue to reduce vehicles' emission of carbon. And India has chosen ethanol blending of petrol. I'm repeating the word petrol because diesel is not applicable at this point of time. Many countries have done this ethanol blending of petrol. So we'll have a look at what India has done, how it is progressing, and what other countries have done on this front. I have a presentation for you. I will just upload the same. So I'm going to speak about this ethanol blending of petrol, which you must have read in the papers for quite some time because of its target being achieved ahead of time by the government. We'll cover all that in the presentation. But the focus of the policy has been nation first, citizen later. I will expand on this as we go along. And that's a very important concept which we need to take away from today's discussion. So let's start the PPT. India commences ethanol blending in 2003. It looked at Brazil, which the last century, between 1975 and 1995, it has achieved phenomenal results in ethanol blending of petrol. So we looked at Brazil and then we said, let's also start. And in 2003, it started in a very modest manner. But if you want to sustain ethanol blended fuel, which is short form is EBF, you need to have good monsoon because the ethanol is coming from some crop, which we'll discuss as we go along, which requires a lot of water. So monsoon is required, and also a lot of agricultural labor will be employed. So suitable agricultural policy should be there. This is one of the conditions for succeeding in ethanol blending. Now in 2015, climate crisis became very serious world over. So India accelerated EBF to 10%. That means when you buy 1 liter of petrol for your car or your motorcycle, 90% will be petrol and 10% will be ethanol. Both are mixed and then given to you. And it became 20% this year. 80% petrol and 20% ethanol. That is what you will get. Short form is E20, but now people don't give those details any further. It's petrol. You all call it petrol, and you get what I told you, 80-20 combination. Car manufacturers in India took preemptive action in 2023, saying the new cars which will come after 2023 will be compatible to E20. Why there is an issue of compatibility, I will tell you as we go along. But cars require slight modification. That is an important point. I'll highlight to you when I reach that slide. And in India, if you look at the age profile of petrol vehicles, it clearly shows that we don't want to give away our old cars or old scooters. We hold on to it like a prized possession. So old vehicles are there in large numbers in India. I will share the profile with you. And those vehicles are not being designed for ethanol blending. And they still operate in ethanol blended fuel. So what happens? Let's see. So what is blending of ethanol blending of petrol? So petrol is produced by refineries that you know. Crude oil comes, they refine it into petrol, diesel, and other products. So petrol is taken from refineries. Ethanol is made by another factory somewhere else. It may be in the same district. It may be in the vicinity also. So ethanol is taken from that manufacturer. And both these are mixed in a new unit called blending station. Normally, this blending station in the periphery of the refinery itself, where they mix ethanol and petrol through a special machine setup called skid, where the proportion which is received now, what is sold now in India, is E20. So it is mixed, and then it goes to the petrol bunks from there by trucks. And this mixing of petrol and ethanol in the correct proportion ensures that your vehicles are able to receive, or you're able to receive, what is stipulated as a properties for E20. If it is called E10, now it is not applicable. E10 was there some years back, it will be 10%. And if it is E5, which was long time back, it was E5, it would have been 5%. So world over, you will find some countries are in E5, some are in E10, some are E25, some are even beyond that. The major advantages of EBF is reduction of carbon. When whatever fumes come out of the vehicle, carbon is less. And where does ethanol come from? Biosources like sugarcane, corn, wheat, barley, bamboo, etc. They are all used for production of ethanol. That is why ethanol generation is largely an agricultural industry. Large number of labor is employed. Large number of ground is required for growing these biosources. Large number of water is also required for them to grow. So just remember this. If you're taking ethanol for your vehicle, then a lot of agricultural support is required from the farmers for giving us ethanol, because the input for ethanol manufacture is all agricultural products. So what will happen to the vehicle when you use ethanol, what will happen to its carbon emission? Let us see. I want to go a little bit of engineering here. Kindly excuse me on that. This is a four-stroke engine. Don't have to know the details. If you use 100% petrol, that means no ethanol, you see this red spark. Whenever the spark plug fires, the petrol mixture, which is mixed with the air, it ignites, and that pushes the piston out, and car is able to move because of that action. And if there are 4 cylinders in a car, one after the other, the cylinders fire, and the car moves smoothly. You can have very big cars with 6 cylinders, some with 8 cylinders, but normally most of the cars are 4 cylinders. So if it is 100% petrol and there's no ethanol, there is a certain amount of pollution, but it is caused only by petrol because there's no ethanol. And the power is generated based only on petrol's characteristics, how much energy it can give for running of the car. But if you have a ethanol blended petrol, then this mixture which is in the cylinder of the car engine, when it is fired, both ethanol and petrol ignite, right? And the energy given by ethanol is less per millimeter as compared to petrol. Very important. The energy given by ethanol is less than what is given by petrol. It's only about 2/3 you will get. 1/3 is less. So if you add 20% of ethanol, that 20% ethanol gives less energy than 100% petrol if it is 20% petrol. So your car will get less energy only. There's no doubt about it. Your car mileage will be less if you use ethanol. There are some small techniques by which this reduction is minimized. I'll touch upon that. But it will be less. But pollution will reduce because when ethanol is burned or ignited and the carbon content in its exhaust is less for ethanol significantly. It's only about 60% of that of petrol. If you have E20, it'll be 20% of 60%, so it'll come out to 12% less carbon emission will be there. If it is E10, it'll be even smaller. If it is more than E20, more savings or more reduction in pollution. So this is the basic. So 2 things. One, your mileage will come down. That's not a very good point. Second point, pollution is going to be less if you use ethanol. It all depends on what percentage of ethanol you blend. Now, if you look at the ethanol can be used for motorbikes as well as cars, you would have seen, but ethanol can take higher compression. It will not suffer self-ignition like petrol. Petrol, if you compress too much, then it will ignite itself. So that is why in the design of petrol car engines, you make sure the compression which takes place is less than a particular value. As long as it is less than a particular value, the petrol will not self-ignite. If it self-ignites, the energy will get released earlier than what it is supposed to be, and you will have what is called knocking of the engine. You may have experience while driving. If it is badly tuned also, you will get the knocking. But that apart, this problem of higher compression, which ethanol can take, is not applicable for petrol. So you have to limit the compression to petrol and not to ethanol. So if you have ethanol percentage more, then the car is capable of taking higher compression, higher speed, higher acceleration. All these are possible if it is using ethanol. So ethanol is preferred for sports cars or high-speed motorcycle, they prefer ethanol content to be higher. High acceleration is possible, as I told you, with EBF. Two-wheelers, since they are not four-stroke engine, they are two-stroke engines, their emission is even better. Carbon content is even better than cars. So therefore, there's an advantage of EBF being used for petrol, because most of the vehicles in India, nearly 26, 27 crores motorcycles are there in India, motorcycles, scooters, mopeds, this, that, etc. All these are using petrol, and there'll be reduction in their emission if we go for ethanol blended. Mileage, I told you, will be less. Roughly it's around 5%, but by some techniques you can make it 3%. I'll touch upon that later. Now, if you are using ethanol blended petrol and you have not used the vehicle for some time, you will have little starting trouble, be it two-wheeler or four-wheeler. So you should be aware of it. And if it's a winter month, this problem will be acute. So you have to remember that if it's ethanol blended fuel, you have some method by which you have periodic starting of the car or the scooter so that you don't have any problems in starting the engine. Second point, very important, ethanol always carries moisture, always. This moisture causes corrosion. So your fuel pipe, washers, seals, which are all there in the fuel system, will suffer corrosion based on the content of ethanol. So vehicles not designed for ethanol blended fuel will show a higher corrosion, because of late they have started using material which doesn't corrode that much as it was earlier in the earlier cars. So you got three problems to remember. One, your mileage will be less, 3%, 4%, sometimes even 5%. Starting trouble may be there in cold months or not used. Third, you will have long-term effect of some corrosion setting in your cars. And especially for older vehicles, this will be more because that material used there, and this is only for the fuel system, fuel pump, fuel pipeline, fuel hoses, gaskets, valves, rubber rings used, all this suffer higher degradation. Now, when you are using blended fuel, ethanol blended fuel, you are going to get less mileage. This is a graph where the red line is 100% petrol. And I'm sorry, the red line is E20 and the black line is 100% petrol. So you get lower mileage with E20. This is the sacrifice which citizens are making. You may be knowing about it, may not be knowing about it, but you're sacrificing a little bit of your mileage you will gain if you use 100% petrol. And as far as emission is concerned, the red line, that is lower elevation, lower pollution, is by ethanol, and the black is for 100% petrol. So who gains by it? The nation gains, because the overall pollution is less, and it is therefore able to contribute to reduction carbon emission, which is one of our objectives for climate action. So there is a contribution by citizens towards a nation by using ethanol blended fuel. How is it produced? How is EBP produced? I told you there is crops here, it is sugarcane, it is collected, then fermented in huge containers, then purified, ethanol is made. and the ethanol is blended with petrol. Petrol is coming from refinery crude oil like this, it's coming. And normally this blending is done in the periphery of the refinery and transported to the fuel station. And the crop used is mostly sugarcane. In India, it is mostly sugarcane. They can be used for heavy molasses, damaged food grains. If FCA has got a lot of food grains that are damaged during monsoon or improper storage, they all can be used, but their amount of ethanol you can get from that is less than sugarcane. Sugarcane gives highest. Even bamboo plants can be used. Is the big advantage in Northeast, because till now, till 2 years back, bamboo plants were not used. Now they have developed the technology for using bamboo plants also to make ethanol. And ethanol, as I told you, blending stations are a part of the oil marketing companies, be it Hindustan Petroleum, Bharat Petroleum, IOC, etc. They all have got blending stations. They buy petrol from refineries and ethanol from factories. A blending skid is used, and transportation is towards the petrol bunk. One change which has happened in the last 4 or 5 years is central government has taken over control of ethanol, because if you're going to have EBF, the availability of ethanol at blending station is very important. So they have made sure all the ethanol producing factories as a group of industries come under central government. They will control their activities, their policies, and their various licenses, etc. This is one change which has happened to make sure that ethanol is available for blending. It shouldn't happen that ethanol is not available, but petrol is only available. So make sure this, the Ministry of Petroleum has taken over ethanol industry, just for information. And let's look at India's program. 2021, it was 10%, then became 12% in 22, then became 15% in 23, and now in 24-25, it's become 20%. And we require nearly 1,000 crore liters of ethanol. 1,000 crore liters of ethanol is required for mixing with petrol in India. Of course, if this is 20%, 80% will be 4 times that. That much of petrol and ethanol are mixed and then sold in the various petrol pumps. And initially, it started in 2003 in 9 states. Then it got extended to E05, got extended to all the states. Then E10 came, then E20 came. Today, E20 is only petrol available, blended petrol available in India all over, except Andaman Nicobar and Lakshadweep. Why it is not available there, we can discuss during Q&A. But there you get 100% petrol. Both the islands, both sets of islands get 100% petrol. There are targets set for blending. So as I told you, 1,000 crore liters is what we want now. There are few petrol pumps even now give you 100% petrol. There's something called XP petrol, which is available in some petrol pumps. They get 100% petrol depending upon the local demand, etc. Now let us look at how the emission standards have changed, because the moment you put ethanol, the pollution standard is different, and how India has changed the emission standards. We started with Bharat Standard 1 in 2000, which is copied from Europe. Then we did Bharat Standard 2 in 2001, Bharat Standard 3 in 2001. In all these standards, the amount of carbon was slowly reduced. Then we made Bharat Standard 4 in 2015. It is all over the country. All cars made in 2015 onwards have started following the norm of BS4. Then we skipped the BS5 standard. We didn't adopt it, and straight away went to BS6. Today, BS6 is a norm for all new cars produced in India. So you have changed your emission norms to make sure cars don't produce high amount of pollution for a combination of petrol and ethanol. And that has been taken care of in the car manufacturer. And car manufacturers also have changed some material used in the fuel system so that there is no long-term corrosion to the fuel system. Now, if you look at the various countries which are dealing, this is an international comparison. The leader is Brazil, there's no doubt about it. I told you earlier, last century itself, they completed 50 years of their trials and experience and various studies. Now Brazil is the leader, but Brazil is operating only with E27. 27% ethanol is what Brazil is mostly operating in, but Brazil also has got 85% ethanol available fuel, and those vehicles are called flex fuel vehicles. They're used for special purposes. And of course, it is not, it is just for information that Brazil is pursuing both with E27 as well as this flex. Flex has to be a different type of design of car. They have two petrol tanks, one for flex and one for a small amount of 100% petrol. For starting, they use the 100% petrol, and thereafter they run on flex, just for information. USA, UK, France, Germany is E10. Rest of the EU is E5. China, Indonesia, Vietnam is at 10. Thailand is at 20. Pakistan is 0. They don't use ethanol blending for some reason. India is at E20. India may look at E25 next year, depending upon how this program has been running. We also formed a global alliance, which India is the headmaster at this point of time. There are about 28 members in the global biofuel alliance. So if you look at this graph is E5 to E100. If it is E100, everything is green, that is ethanol. If it is E25, 1/4 is ethanol, balance is petrol. It is just a graphical representation with showing where these countries are using, which I've already explained to you. What are the advantages of EBP? There are 4 advantages. One is the energy security. Now, this is India-specific advantages. Let's look at energy security. We have to import crude oil from abroad. If you don't do blending, you will be using 100% petrol, which means more crude oil we have to import. So India has decided to go for E20 now. So we have saved about 1 lakh crore in imports by importing less crude oil. We only require 80% of that crude oil to come. Don't confuse this with indigenous source and imported source. I'm talking only of imports. Our imports have come down significantly because we have gone for E20. Next, climate change. 6% reduction pollution for E20. So far, it is estimated that 50 million tons we have been able to reduce in our pollution. Don't worry about 50 million tons. India's carbon emission is 4,000 million tons. So there's a small number which we are contributing towards. We are the 3rd polluting country in the world, largest polluting country in the world, and we emit about 4,000 tons. Next, income of farmers has gone up by 40,000 because of ethanol, because they're growing more sugarcane, more maize, and something else, bamboo here, there. So their income has gone up. And last, petrol vehicles' performance have been made better after 23. As I told you, 2 things they have done. One, there's a slight tuning which is done in the engine to make sure that they have been able to get ethanol compressed more by design. That is after 23. And second, they have used material which will not corrode fast. Petrol vehicles, both 2-wheelers and 4-wheelers, are more compatible to E20 as against earlier one. Okay, so these are the 4 advantages which you have. Now let's look at a very important data. I'm going to tell you the age profile of petrol vehicles in India. As for Vahan portal, you can all go to Vahan dashboard and see it separately. we have 7 crore cars and 29 crore two-wheelers. Out of the 7 crore, I'm taking 60% is petrol, 40% is diesel. So roughly, I said this 4.2 crore petrol cars are there in India and 29 crore two-wheelers as of now, today's data. Now, in this, there are old vehicles, new vehicles, yesterday's vehicles, bought after GST has come down. All these are there in this number. Now, before 2019, there have been 2.24 crores petrol cars and 16.93 two-wheelers. They are still there. Those vehicles are still there. They are registered. Now, whether they have been put in the garage or whether they have been junked, etc., Vahan portal doesn't say very clearly, but they are all manufactured before 2019. That is 57% of your overall holding. Then there are vehicles manufactured between 2019 and 2023. Why 2019? 2019 E10 came. Ethanol 10%. 2023 vehicle manufacturer said, we have designed our vehicles for E20. So between these two, there have been 27% more petrol vehicles. Some are cars, more of them are two-wheelers, which have come. Then after 2023, you got, if you can read it, 0.76 crores cars and 4.4 two-wheelers have come, which are E20 compatible. The best the industry could give. And that's about 16%. That's what I've shown in green. And this does not include the electrical vehicle that has been removed out of this number. So you realize that the age profile of petrol vehicles in India, 84% have not been manufactured for E20. Only 16 have been manufactured, 16% have been manufactured for E20. It's possible that your car is in 16% or the other way around. But the fact is that a large percentage of our vehicles running on the road are not E20 compatible. What happens? The disadvantage of mileage is there because they can't be tuned anything better. Long-term corrosion, etc., is there. So citizens' maintenance and repair expenses are likely to be higher. But as I told you earlier, nation first, nation benefits by EBF. Disadvantage of EBF, let me just flag it. First is lower mileage, I told you. Second is cost is higher. Cost is higher because to produce ethanol, you have to pay the farmers and then get it ethanol made, and thereafter it is to be blended and transported. It is slightly higher than the petrol price, but the government has kept both the prices the same, but the cost is higher. Sugar production is vulnerable. Now, 84% of the ethanol comes from sugarcane. If the monsoon is bad, sugarcane production is less. Sugarcane harvest is less. Sugar production suffers. So do you want ethanol or you want sugar? Which one? It happened last year. Government said, stop making ethanol from sugarcane. Use something else because there was monsoon was bad and they decided not to have a problem with sugar because sugar is a vital commodity. Then because monsoon was better, it got reversed. So there is a dependence on monsoon and sugar market as far as ethanol is concerned. That is why the central government wants to control ethanol production and its movement to various blending stations, etc. As I told you, it contains water, hygroscopic. It is hygroscopic. A little bit of water content is there in ethanol, which causes corrosion to fuel systems of vehicle. And as I told you, 50%, more than 50%, I've already told you, 84% of vehicles flying in India, operating in India, are not compatible to E20. Now, last point, sugarcane requires, I'm talking sugarcane, if you're getting 1 kilo of sugar, it requires 2,000 liters of water. The 2,000 liters of water can be just to come from the ground, or you have to water the sugarcane plantation, which can be from a tank or here, but you require 2,000 liters. But if you want to produce 1 liter of ethanol, it requires 3,000 liters. So disadvantage of ethanol, apart from what is of the citizens, it has a demand on water, groundwater in most of the places. You require lots of water to be drawn from the earth to produce ethanol, to run your car or a motorbike, to give less pollution. So you're supporting environment by less pollution, but on the other hand, you're taking too much water from the earth. We can discuss this during Q&A. Right. So stakeholders are worried. Different stakeholders are there. First stakeholder is the farmer, because his production of sugarcane depends on monsoon. That is one part. And he supplies to the ethanol plant. There are about 500 ethanol plants in India. And they are integrated. They make sugar also, they make ethanol also. Both are combined in that factory. And there's a crude oil refinery. Just for information, there are 23 refineries in India. That output and this output go to a blending station. I don't have the exact number of how many blending stations are there in India, but I would presume it'll be between 100 and 150. And once it is blended, it comes to the petrol pump. There are about 1 lakh petrol pumps in India, very close to that. And car manufacturers are about 50 car manufacturers in India, small car manufacturers, special car manufacturers, also the big ones, brand ones. And they supply the car to the customer, who brings the car to the petrol pump. And customer vehicle owners are about 5.18 crores are only compatible. This we discussed earlier. Rest of the people, 30 crores nearly of petrol vehicles are not compatible. We discussed that point. That is a worrisome fact. So stakeholders, the farmer has got his worry. The ethanol factory has got its worry, because sugarcane will come only if it is monsoon is good, and then water conditions should be there. And car manufacturers are worried that their new design should work well with E20. Tomorrow, government may make E20 to E25. Then what happens to the car? Will it be working all right, or will it require some change of kit? Will the car manufacturer support? Will the insurance company support? These are questions which need to be answered. So somebody filed a public interest litigation, Supreme Court, in August 25, just 2 months. And when they filed, Supreme Court gave a decision, ethanol blending to continue for 3 reasons. 1, reduction in import of crude oil, good for the country. Environmental benefits due to lower pollution, good for the country. Support for sugarcane farmers, because they're growing more and they get their minimum support price, etc. So good for farmers, agricultural production, good for the country. So Supreme Court's ruling shows nation's interests should come before individuals' interests. And individuals are car owners like you and me. We should be aware of this fact. We have to live with it. Make sure that if your fuel system are well looked after and you don't have any surprises either during winter months or due to long layoff of the car, or because it is old and you require some replacements of some components. So what are the future plans for ethanol blended fuel? Government has said that we'll review it in 25-26 is over. Then we'll see whether E20 should go higher, or will it stay, or will they change? So government said they will review. Meanwhile, diesel is being tried out for blending. And they're planning to achieve 5% of blending in another 2-3 years' time. Sweden is the only country which has successfully blended diesel and, I'm sorry, this is blended diesel with ethanol, not blended diesel with diesel. There's a mistake here. And other countries are also trying. China is trying, Vietnam is trying, EU nations are trying whether they can blend diesel with ethanol. India is also trying. It is still not come out into the market for trials. But if you do diesel, you require 480 crores liter of ethanol more just to give 5% blending. We are already 1,000 crore liter ethanol. It will go to 1,500 crores ethanol if you want to do E20 petrol plus E05 diesel. If you want to increase E20 further high to E25, you require more ethanol. More water is required. So this has to be a decision taken on what the stakeholders are going to get affected, which I talked about earlier. It's a very serious decision which government has to take on what is the future of going to be on ethanol blended fuel. Will it go beyond E20 or not? Ours is a country which is dependent on monsoon. Year to year, we depend on monsoon for water. Sustenance of policies which are depending on water to a great extent need to consider what are the vagaries of monsoon. And on top of it, you've got climate action, which makes monsoon erratic, uncontrollable, and a lot of water flows to the sea. We are not giving enough time for the ground to absorb it. If you have rain in such intense measure, you're not giving time for ground to absorb it. It just flows away with the ground itself. Some soil, sand, everything goes away. But if you have rains regularly of less intensity, ground gets more time to absorb. So recharging of ground takes place. Serious topic, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to discuss this topic again at a later occasion when the government decides on the future of E20. So I come to my conclusions. I told you from 2003 we started. We're going the Brazil way of EBF, mostly from sugarcane, but it's got a dependency on monsoon and sugar market. We discussed this. Today, everywhere you get only E20 except the islands. Andaman Nicobar Islands and Lakshadweep, you don't get E20, you get only 100% petrol. But there are a few bunks within the country which give 100% petrol for specific requirements of customers. If it is there, you can also buy it for your car. But it's little more expensive than EBF. It is definitely reduced pollution, there's no doubt about it. It raised the farmers' income, no doubt about it. Age profile, I already told you, 84% is not compatible to E20. Government will decide what should happen next year and what should be done for diesel. Till then, we follow what the PIL case ruling was in Supreme Court. Put the nation first. And today, 28 crore citizens are sacrificing their bit for nation's good. With this, I conclude my talk. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Jai Hind. Yeah. Sabu, I finished with.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Vinama, sir, continue.
What I wanted to tell is that the car owners were having older cars. They should be allowed to use ordinary petrol. Otherwise, there is a corrosion in the engine and knocking, etc. will be there. Those who are having cars manufactured before 2023, it is not designed for ethanol mixed petrol.
Yeah, I agree. Surendra, I agree with that point. I'm not sure about knocking, because knocking depends on the compression in the cylinder and the timing of ignition. Now, that is a car design. So if you've got an old car its design has catered for anti-knocking and good timing of ignition. But the fact is, as far as the fuel system corrosion is concerned, definitely you got to worry. One more fact: if your car has got a carburetor, like the old cars are, then small amount of moisture in the petrol can affect the fuel flow. Because after all, it has to go through that small jet. And therefore, carburetor fitted vehicles are more prone to problems from ethanol. But I agree with you, it's an issue. So government is trying to tell you, sell off your old car, buy a new car. And if you sell off your old car through a registered car braking agency, I will give you X thousand rupees concession on the new car. You're aware of this policy. They will give you can buy a registered guy and you will get an offset in your new car. Government wants, and rightly so, they want the old cars to go because they're not only inherently they're polluting more. Forget about ethanol blended fuel. Car has become old, it pollutes more. There's no doubt about it because unburned fuel percentage is higher in old cars as compared to a relatively new car. So unburned fuel will cause pollution. So we have an issue on old cars. It may be a lot of attachment for you to have an old car. You're emotionally attached to the car. Your father had this car and therefore I'm having it, I'm continuing it. It will cause some pollution problems, more so with ethanol blended fuel.
2023 manufactured car is not an old car in our standard.
Agreed. Agreed. I said we are all very attached to our possessions of car, which has come down from, from the lineage, from your father has given a car and you don't want to dispose of it, you're attached to it. But that car will be at least about 25, 30 years old and cars are still running, of course, with some difficulty. They don't run as well as what they were earlier. Yeah.
Thank you.
മാർക്കറ്റിൽ കാണുന്ന എല്ലാ പെട്രോളും എത്തനോൾ ബ്ലെൻഡഡ് പെട്രോൾ ആണോ?
100%. Any petrol you buy in India mainland is E20. No doubt.
അപ്പം പുതിയ കാറുകളിലേക്ക് വരുമ്പോഴാണ് അതിന്റെ കമ്പസ്റ്റൻ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് വരുന്നത്, ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതൊരു പ്രോബ്ലം ആയിട്ട് വരും.
ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ, it depends on the there are 2-3 factors in this. One is the car has to be well tuned. All of us want our cars to be very well tuned. And second, forget about the long-term effects. Running of the car. Running of the car, if there's 20% ethanol, the energy given by that 20% is less. If the ethanol was not there, the 20% would have been petrol. So you have energy given by ethanol blended petrol air mixture inside your car is less, and you will have a drop in mileage by about 4 to 5%. Now, drop in mileage can happen otherwise also. Roads are bad, you're not able to do good speed, that also can drop your mileage. Traffic is so much on the road, you cannot go on high speed, that also drops mileage. You don't know how to drive, or your driver is not driving well, that also drops mileage. So there are so many factors for mileage to drop. The quality of driving, quality of roads, intensity of traffic, so many things are there. But if you do a trial of an ethanol blended car with an ordinary car in some special speedway, and then see, you will find it is less by about 3 to 4%.
Okay, sir.
Sir, how
Yeah.
can we identify a normal petrol and petrol blended with ethanol? Or we can understand only by experience?
No, see, ethanol is almost colorless, and petrol, which is coming, it has got a slight brownish color. slight. So it based on the tinge of the petrol, you can make out. It is. You have to compare two samples. Then only you will know anything which is more to colorless side. It has got more ethanol.
Okay.
But actually, it is not such a serious issue that one has to worry about. But you have to be aware of this fact that your car requires a little more care from your side because you're using E20 petrol, and that world over it is like that. World over, countries are shifting over to ethanol blended fuel. So you may be in US, your son may be in US, Germany, here, they're all using ethanol blended fuel. And they may be aware of the special care which you have to take. But now that I'm telling you, I got a chance to tell you, take care of your car a little more. Be a little more observant on the fuel system, especially the fuel pipeline which comes, etc. Once in a month, just open the bonnet and have a look. Everything is okay, no leakage or nothing is happening. That's all.
But the fact is that when we use blended petrol blended with ethanol, mileage will be a bit less.
It's not a big less. It'll be about 4 to 5% is what theoretical studies have shown. But as I told you, mileage can also come down depending on quality of roads, also depending on how good the driving is, and also can be how intense the traffic is. Traffic is not moving. It's so crowded. Obviously, you will be in second gear and not in top gear. Your mileage will be less. So mileage is dependent on so many factors. But if you compare 100% petrol to ethanol E20 will be less by about 4-5%.
Okay.
Only when you do a long distance, you may feel
Yes, sir.
that there is you can feel a difference.
Sir, shall I ask something? I am belonging to Palakkad, where the government has initiated the Oasis company permission for manufacturing ethanol and all that, and our panchayat is fighting against it. But the industrial minister and our own minister MP Rajesh are favoring it by saying that the positive points you have suggested, it will give more income to farmers and all that. But now very big agitation is going on in my panchayat. So I want to say that you have mentioned about the pollution by motor vehicles and all that. But think about the brewery industry. It is causing much pollution to the soil, water, atmosphere, etc. Because Oasis is banned in Punjab because they have tapped all the groundwater, and after that the polluted water, foul smelling, is pumped into these borewells and all that, and now the government has banned it. So pollution is not only atmospheric pollution, but brewery industry is causing a very big pollution to the water, then to the soil, to the atmosphere, etc. Because I have visited that area in Punjab and found that around 10 kilometers area, the foul smell is coming out. Because brewery industry is like that. Previously in this Menambara of Palakkad, there was one this ethanol factory that is called Chittoor Sugars, and sugar cultivation was there and all that. But now it has disappeared only because of scarcity of water. But the government is and the factory is claiming that they will tap rainwater and they will produce ethanol and all that. Who will believe that? Because Palakkad is a water called so-called rain shadow area, and we are not getting water for even drinking water. Scarcity is there. So it's so your class gave me a very clear idea about what is the engineering and the petroleum ethanol blending chemistry, advantages and disadvantages and all that. So I will be able to present your points before the public in my place, because but there is one crucial point you have suggested. nation first, then individuals last. If there is no individual, what is there remaining in the nation? Because the poor farmers will be driven out of. Sugar industry, the sugarcane cultivation is the cultivation utilizing maximum water. That is why it has disappeared from Palghat. And also the soya company is now almost at the scoring point, because they have filed a case in the High Court and all that. Government is favoring it, and also the Supreme Court verdict they are quoting. We know that the very good barristers, or what is called advocates, can win anything from Supreme Court or High Court, because industrial people or corporate companies are like that. So your class was an eye opening to us. We were not knowing about what is the real issue regarding this ethanol blended petrol and all that. The benefit is very less.
Thank
It
you.
will reduce atmospheric pollution and all that, but it will pollute the whole soil. Then this even Malambura Dam will be polluted by this wonderful Oasis company. Luckily, the name of the company is Oasis. You know the meaning of Oasis, sir. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you
know.
so much for giving
Thank you.
such
Thank you.
a
No,
such
but
a
I
wonderful
would like to just
presentation.
respond to you by saying that such decisions are taken by governments with the help of professionals and specialists after considering so many factors, right? Pollution is one factor. Water availability is another factor. Farmers' welfare is another factor. So many factors are there, and you have to look at only when you are involved in the process of taking a decision, you realize that it would be very difficult to. You said about breweries. How much percentage of Kerala's income revenue is from breweries? If there are no breweries, what will happen to Kerala state government? How much money they will not get? I think about 30 to 35% is from breweries.
Yes.
So how does the state run? Is running only because of the taxes they're collecting from breweries. So one has to look at so many aspects. So developing a country through various programs is a huge challenge. And as I told you in the beginning, we are a vast country. We're a very big country. Lot of people, lot of vehicles. 43 crore vehicles are there registered in India. And obviously they will require fuel. And we don't have fuel in India. Only 15% of fuel is produced in India. That means produced means from our Bombay high offshore or some onshore, some oil wells. 85% we are importing from abroad, petrol and crude oil. Then we make petrol and diesel out of it. So the decisions have to be taken into account so many factors. I'm happy that you have brought the issue, but when you discuss with the Panchayat, also highlight that these are complex issues, and I'm sure people in the government, people in the various departments take into account all aspects. We just come to one after looking at the minister saying, no, this is the correct thing to do. We wouldn't have spent the time he has spent in understanding the situation and taking a decision. Okay. Sabu.
Hariharan sir.
Okay, Sabu sir. Can
One
I?
second, one
Very,
second.
very
Hariharan sir,
interesting,
one
very
second.
സംസാരിക്കട്ടെ?
Sorry.
Very interesting subject, because for anything there are two sides are there. Now people have been quoting about the shortage of water, getting impure and all that. But at the same time, we have to see, for example, as per the statistics as forward, more than 80% of car are more than is 15 years old. As per the standing government guidelines, any vehicle above 15 years has to be it should not be put in use. Am I right? There is a new.
No. If the vehicle is more than 15 years of age, you are entitled for some concession by a new car.
That's what I'm saying. That is slowly have to ease it out. The only way is that
No, 1 minute. If you have a vehicle which is more than 15 years,
yes.
the re-registration process involves a detailed health check,
Yes.
including the pollution it causes, etc. It is not that it will automatically get extended. So when you buy a new car,
my
the
point
registration
is
is only for
the
15
idea
years.
is to use them out gradually from the market. I mean, from the fleet.
Yeah, right.
No, now you are saying that after 2 years, the percentage of the ATM, I mean, what is called
Ethanol.
ethanol is going to be increased from 20 to 25. So more cars will not be able to use that fuel. So the government should have a policy to exchange these old cars by new one by giving exchange some
Which is there.
subsidy something. They will do it, no doubt. But let us not forget this ethanol mixing. You have got multiple benefits are there: carbon reduction, increase in farmers' income. It's a very major important thing. Income. Of course, depletion of water supply will be there. That people have to see how to the rain harvesting, other thing. We practice rain harvesting only in the theory, only paper, but not in practice. So all this they take a, and of course each state, for example, somebody was quoting the Palghat and all that. I remember Palghat years back. We have closed down that Coca-Cola because it was polluting the water. Yeah, yes, you have closed the plant. At what cost? Thousand people have lost their job, their livelihood. All this we have to see. These are all mixed things. As Kannan was telling, it's very easy to make offer comment, but to take a decision, one has to examine various aspects. Then only one can come to this. Anyway, it was very informative talk. Very informative.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you. Thank you. Idea was to tell all of you, most of your vehicle owners, maybe more than one vehicle owner, to know, like Sabu was saying, am I getting E20 now? Yes, you are getting E20. They don't tell you, but E20 only you are getting.
Okay, Raju sir.
Yes, thank you, Sabu sir. At the very outset, let me thank Vice Admiral B.KANNAN sir for this Georgia's presentation. It was really an eye-opener for us, and also it was very informative. Just I want to share one thing. Maybe it is maybe humorous, you can say. If more alcohol, this is alcohol. Normally, normal alcohol is ethyl alcohol or ethanol. This alcohol is used for drinking purposes. Sir has said, and we are trying for the prohibition of alcohol, and because common people are spoiled by this usage of alcohol and intoxication and everything. But if we are using it for the cars, the availability of this alcohol will be less, and this will be benefit for the common people, so that this problem of alcohol drinking will be less. Its prohibition will be more effective, I think. Just only a bright side of that.
There are some social advantages, yes.
Is it correct?
Okay. Okay, sir. വേറെ ആർക്കെങ്കിലും എന്തെങ്കിലും ഡൗട്ട്സ് ഉണ്ടോ? രമാവതി മാം, റോയ് സർ.
സാർ അതുപോലെ കണ്ണൻ സാർ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയാം സാർ. ഓക്കെ അല്ലേ? അതായത് സാറിന്റെ ക്ലാസ് വളരെ നല്ല എഫക്റ്റീവ് ആയിരുന്നു. കാരണം എനിക്ക് ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ അങ്ങോട്ട് പറയാനുള്ള കുറച്ച് പ്രയാസമുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ തപ്പിത്തടഞ്ഞൊക്കെ പറയണം, ശ്രമിച്ചാലാവും. അതില് സാറ് പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു കാര്യം, നാഷണൽ ഫസ്റ്റ്, രണ്ടാമത് സിറ്റിസൺ ആണെന്നുള്ളത്. ആക്ച്വലി അതെല്ലാം ശരിക്കും എന്താ പറയുന്നത്, സാറ് ഇപ്പൊ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ അറ്റാച്ച്മെന്റ്. നമ്മളിപ്പം ഒരു ഗിഫ്റ്റ്, അത് ശരിയാണ് സാറേ, ഒരു ഗിഫ്റ്റ് കിട്ടിയാല് ഒരു 10-15 കൊല്ലം മുമ്പേ ഉള്ള കാറാണെങ്കിലും പിന്നെ അത് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഗവൺമെന്റ് തന്നെ അതിന് മുൻകൈ എടുത്തിട്ട് ചെയ്യേണ്ടി വരും. ഇപ്പൊ ഗവൺമെന്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത് 15 കൊല്ലം ഉള്ള കാറ് വീണ്ടും 5 കൊല്ലം വർദ്ധിപ്പിച്ചിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അത് പുതുക്കേണ്ട സമയം. അതിപ്പോ വീണ്ടും 5 കൊല്ലം, ഇപ്പൊ 5 കൊല്ലാണ്, ഇനിയിപ്പോ 10 ആക്കുമെന്ന് എനിക്കറിയില്ല. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ പിന്നെ ഇതിപ്പം അതില് ഇപ്പൊ 2 വീലർ ഇങ്ങനെയല്ല പോകുമ്പം പോകുന്നവർക്കും കുറച്ച് ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടാകുന്നു. ഈ പഴയ കാർ ഉപയോഗിച്ചിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ പോകുമ്പം ഗ്ലാസ് എല്ലാം അടച്ച് AC എല്ലാം ഇട്ട് പോകുന്നവർക്ക് ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടില്ല, മറ്റുള്ളവർക്കാണ് ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട്. അങ്ങനെയുള്ളൊരു പ്രശ്നമുണ്ട്.
അല്ലല്ല, ഈ പുതിയ റൂള് 15 കൊല്ലത്തിന് കഴിഞ്ഞതിന് ശേഷം you can dispose of your old car. If you dispose it off through an authorized car braking agency, they will break the car and give you a certificate. With that certificate, you will get something like 20,000 rupees reduction in buying a new car. This is a new rule. But you don't want to dispose of the old car because you're attached to it, then they will extend it only by 5 years.
അതാണ് സാറേ 5 years കൊടുത്തതാ ഞാൻ.
Yeah, 5 years because you don't want to dispose of. But if you want to dispose of it, nobody will stop you. If it is more than 15 years, you will get that reduction in buying a new car. That is a new scheme, but I don't know how popular it is. I'm not sure how popular it is.
Thank you, sir. അതെനിക്ക് പുതിയ അറിവാണ്.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kannan sir. Recently, I heard about the petrol is going to mix with the 20% ethanol. The old petrol cars are going to suffer. Owners are going to suffer. Now, I got a clear picture about the ethanol mixing process and benefit of our benefit. That is, reduces the import of crude oil and carbon deposit in the atmosphere. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
New idea.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Sabo's not there. Can I leave? Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you all for support.
Good night, sir.